Hello and welcome to a review for Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, which I really have given up caring about these movies. It was okay. It was mediocre. I didn't hate it at all. I didn't like it much either. Parts of it I liked. It had potential. That's what I think bothered my brother. He came back and he was so disappointed. I was very surprised. But he said it's had so much potential that it didn't reach. I strongly agree. I tend to generally agree with a lot of the consensus on this movie, which is that it does some new things. Some of it's alright, some of it's kind of cool, but some of it's really dumb. Some of it's a mixed bag. So I'll get into the details. I want to give a quick summary of the Star Wars movies. I think that episodes 4 and 5 are among the greatest films ever made. That even film critics have to take seriously. That you could put them in a list among Casablanca, Vertigo, City Lights, whatever Citizen Kane, and they would completely fit, I think. Return of the Jedi, I think, is excellent. I'd give it 10 out of 10. It's awesome, but just not as original. It doesn't... Star Wars introduced all of these things. Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, C-3PO, R2-D2, Chewbacca, Han Solo, the Millennium Falcon, lightsabers, TIE fighters, X-Wing, the Death Star, Darth Vader, countless things that are Obi-Wan. They're all among the best of, if you were doing the top 10 movie lines of all time, May the Force be with you, would be up there, I think, or the top 10 guide, sort of older guides. Obi-Wan would be there. If you're doing top 10 villains, you'd have Darth Vader. Top 10 heroes, Han Solo. So it's iconic. Empire expanded on it. It didn't repeat it. It was totally different. New characters. Had the same characters, continued the story. It went darker. And the Return of the Jedi doesn't match that. But it's very good, I think. That's my opinion. The prequels, I think, are very good. I think people hate them for weird reasons, but the dialogue is not as good. Well, some of the dialogue's terrible, some of the acting is not the greatest, some of the characters are annoying, but other than that, they're very good. They're action, sci-fi, fantasy movies that I really enjoy. The music is among the greatest ever written for all of the prequels and the original trilogy. Those 6 movies, you could put any of them in the top 5 scores of all time, and I'd be like, good choice. That makes sense. I think John Williams is incredible, and his work in the prequels is excellent. And the directing is very good as well. George Lucas is a good director. The action is really well made. The pod racing, episode 1 is actually really exciting, I think, when I recently watched it. Also, I saw a YouTube video that was going through the special effects. I think a lot of people dismiss it all as CGI, when there's actually a lot of sets, a lot of miniatures, a lot of real explosions, and it's all integrated, and people just seem ignorant of that. I was impressed a lot by their special effects, especially for the time, but even still now. Anyway, let's move on. Force Awakens I hated. I thought it was dull. I don't like J.J. Abrams' directing. It just felt very flat. Everything's the same close-up, whatever. I don't want to go through that. And it wasn't original. It was just a rip-off. It was a rip-off of Star Wars and Return of the Jedi a bit. Anyway, Rogue One I didn't like much either, but it had some cool space battles at the end and some okay bits. This one I feel is slightly better, so I'd give it a 5 out of 10 for The Last Jedi. So the prequels I'd give 8, 9, and 10. Then Force Awakens 3, Rogue One 4. I hate them. I don't like them much. Anyway, The Last Jedi. Okay, that was my intro. Just context, because if you completely disagree with that, then you might completely disagree with this one. This one, it was just amazing how little I cared. I just didn't care, because I don't feel invested at all now. But, look, I think it's an improvement on The Force Awakens. It had some good parts. I want to talk, before I get into the story and some of the plot elements, it had more opportunity for John Williams to do some music. It had more moments that had no dialogue in it than The Force Awakens, which feels like it's kind of full of dialogue all the way through. There's very little opportunity to really settle into something or have a mystery. Whereas The Last Jedi is more balanced. There are some good scenes where you have the story being told without any dialogue. I can't remember near the start and even throughout it. There's parts, just significant looks and then looking somewhere and touching something, a bit more of that, and then you can have the music comes in. So I was enjoying the music a lot more. But again, the parts of the music that I enjoyed the most were Leia's theme, the Force theme, and some other things that I've already heard before. I heard a little bit of stuff that was new, but can anyone hum Kylo Ren's theme? Can anyone do that? Hux's theme? Does he have a theme? Ray, or I think she does sort of have a theme. Or Finn. I'm not saying you have to have a theme for every character, but for crying out loud, it's the same thing with the all the Marvel movies or just movies these days. I think the standard is so low with music and with the other thing is just it rushes. It doesn't. We don't have that sense of mystery. I don't think it's just time. Like I don't think it's just movies used to be great, but it's movies like Star Wars, like those films, like E.T. the Extraterrestrial, that just they don't exist anymore, or at least they're relatively rare. And The Last Jedi is nothing like that. Alright, now I think I'm just going to jump around. I thought Kylo Ren was improved on this time. He was such a pouty, if it's a very bad sign if I feel I could take the bad guy in a fight. Like, I could just feel like, guys, I got this. I could just, I never get into fights, but it's like, you've got to be intimidated. Darth Vader is intimidating. Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator is intimidating. Even Robert Patrick just looks so serious and calm and as the T-1000. Bane is intimidating. The Joker is a psychopath that I just think you don't know what he's got to do at any time. And Kylo Ren is just some teenager, some kid that I feel like he feels like, like the wind will knock him over or something. But okay, at the start of this movie there's some potential because he's talking to Snoke and Snoke's kind of dismissive of him and you can sense his anger and I could sense okay, maybe there's some conflict there. A bit like when you're young and you're tempted between good and bad and not that I don't think I was majorly, but sometimes you have one parent is more strict and the other parent might be more loose, or at least I think most people can relate to some kind of there's certain situations where things are more controlled, there's certain situations where there's more freedom, but it's the control that is often means they care about you more, and it's when you've got freedom that's more irresponsible. My point being, it might have been Luke was sort of the more strict, this is how, and Snoke might represent, the dark side represents temptation, it's easier. So anyway, for Kylo to go in that direction but to find out later, Snoke's disrespect, I can understand his anger, he's sort of committed to the dark side now. But anyway, so he grabs the mask and smashes it. I thought that was cool, kind of symbolic, but it's happening so much, like in Thor, Ragnarok, his hammer gets destroyed. I feel like there's a bunch of other examples. They're not coming to mind, but things where the character is challenged, something is taken. Even like Batman in The Dark Knight Rises, his money's taken away. Interesting challenge, but it feels like it's been done a lot of times. But yeah, okay, no mask, and he's got a kind of cool scar. There was an awesome part where he flew in to this area and then just shot. It was just very efficient, and there was explosions, and I think BB-8 knocked across the screen. That made me laugh, but that was actually a problem with it was too much humor at the wrong times. Humor's great. It's not a question of do you want humor or not. It's when do you have the humor. It's got to be timed right. You do not want your humor to undercut tension and drama, and that's what this movie has a lot of. Another example of that was near the start, where is it Poe? Someone calls him and says "Hey, is Hux there?" I'll hold. And it's just, it wasn't that funny, and it just completely kind of ruined the moment. Is this meant to be epic and dramatic or what? But anyway, that part, because before Kylo Ren, or actually this is later, Kylo Ren had smashed his helmet and then flew through this area. It was really efficient, really cool, and he's gonna kill his mom and the senses Leia, and then decides not to, and someone else does it anyway. That was kind of dramatic. I can't believe, I'm a bit. The thing with Leia where it's very sad because Carrie Fisher has passed away, obviously. So I thought she's dead. Okay, but that's a nice part. It's sad, it's abusing. And I don't, the same thing happens in Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like some new thing. In Total Recall, when Arnold Schwarzenegger's, there's not much atmosphere. He's and his eyes come out. I don't know how realistic that is. But this, now it seems to be the thing that when you're in space, you kind of freeze and it's like this weird sort of glistening thing appears on your body. I don't get it. Anyway, then her eyes open and she just points and it's people compared it to Mary Poppins. Now Mary Poppins, y'all, it's anyway, that was a bit ridiculous. And also it changes okay, because she hasn't used the Force much before, and now other Jedi and Sith able to do that. Why didn't they do? Or you go back through all the other movies. Why didn't they fly here and here and here. And also, like, there was an explosion. Like, the shock and the impact and the heat of that's intense. That will kill you. Like, how was she even in one piece? Meanwhile, all this other stuff is charred and broken and smashed into a million pieces, and she's just whole with no burns. Like, and she, and of course, everyone else is fine. It's anyway. All right, let me just jump to another part where, okay, Snoke. Snoke is like, he's kind of cool, but it's so lame that they don't tell us who he is and what. Don't build up to someone and then just kill him. That's the thing. He's like a mastermind. He connects Rey and Kylo in some, like, they don't seem to be aware. That's funny. I wonder if Snoke just like prank connects people sometimes, like two people who have just broken up, just connects them, like, what? Why are you in my mind? What is going on? And it's funny that Kylo has no shirt on at one point. But again, there's like Rey makes a comment about, can you at least put something? It's like a bit of a humor moment. It doesn't... I thought it was kind of cool. I thought, like, is this now that she's connected to the Force, which it's ridiculous how powerful she is. I think it's called a Mary Sue thing, where she's just perfect. The point is she's too powerful, and it undercuts everything else. If, Kylo Ren's been trained all this time, and Rey is already as powerful or more powerful, the Force Awakens had a major problem with that. And this movie kind of continues it, that she's just able to do all this stuff. Why? And then it turns out she's a nobody. Are you kidding me? That's just so stupid. And I'm jumping around, but in terms of being a nobody, like, her parents mean something to her. Like, it doesn't matter if she's not related to Luke Skywalker or Han Solo, even though she seemed to have some kind of significant connection. Saying that her parents are nobody, they're significant to her, and who knows what other connections they might have. And how did Kylo know? Or is he just teasing her? Did he know? My brother said, well, maybe he read her mind, but like, so she knows that she doesn't realize? How did he know? It doesn't make any sense. Just in terms of having his shirt off at one bit, I wanted to make a little comment about, I think sometimes it's good, like, to be the mind and the body are connected. And, to me, that's my opinion. I don't know what you think. But, like, physicality is a part of acting, and that's a part of characters. So if someone is physically imposing or physically strong and healthy, that can change the way you see them. And I think that's good. I think that's normal and natural. So I think it makes sense to show off the body of certain characters sometimes, because that made him, I kind of respected him more. I was like, oh, he looks reasonably strong. And the same with women. Can you show off that they're, beautiful and attractive? You're only young once. I think even with, like, the prequels where you've got, say, like, Hayden Christensen, like, people, like, he's a terrible actor, but he was doing a lot of the lightsaber fight. I just think that aspect should be a bit more respected, and I think it is important, if it can be done right. In Batman Begins, when, Christian Bale just sort of goes down and do push-ups, that kind of inspired me to start regularly doing push-ups. Ever since then, I do push-ups every day, like, quite regularly, even if not as many, but because of that. And seeing him like that, even if it's just in one scene, you connect it when you're in your mind, and you think whenever he's dressed up as Batman, you're like, it's this big, strong guy who has this determination. So, hey, I'm just making a comment that sometimes some people might be like topless seeds, or, what's the word? Just that they're gratuitous or something. I think they can play a meaningful role if it's done right. Anyway, that was like a side thing. So, okay. So then they meet, and, she just turns herself in and gets handcuffed, and then the dialogue is ambiguous leading up to it, when, Snoke is like, you're going to strike down your enemy, your decision has been made. But this is the thing. So Snoke is super powerful, can knock her around, and then he leaves a lightsaber right next to him, who apparently Kylo can just activate. That's a rookie error. Like, what? How did... And Snoke knew he was conflicted. So Snoke is a moron. No, Snoke is like a complete idiot. I think it's different in Return of the Jedi, when you've got... there's also a similar moment where, the Emperor keeps tempting Luke, and then Luke finally says, give me that lightsaber, and tries to hit him, and Darth Vader blocks it, and the Emperor's just laughing. And it's like the Emperor's seen all of this way ahead and is just in control. He's laughing hysterically. That's epically cool. And then later in Return of the Jedi, though, of course, which they ruined with the special edition, where Darth Vader says, no! Oh, God, don't do that. Luke's getting zapped, and then I think it's a complete twist. It's completely unexpected that Luke somehow found that tiny little bit of good or regret in Darth Vader that he's able to turn, and it's kind of like undo all of the bad stuff, all of the bad decisions he made, whether you want to go with the prequels or just fill in the details yourself. So I can see that the Emperor was epically powerful and evil and didn't see it coming. And this is Darth Vader, who's not weak. He's, strong himself, can use the Force, and he might have been beaten up a bit, but he just grabs him unexpectedly, throws him. That's really epic and exciting. Like, you're just thinking, how can they beat the Emperor? It's iconic, it's memorable, gives you chills down your back. And then what have we got here? We just got twist the lightsaber and then oh, this epic villain who we don't even know anything about. Who cares? It's such an anticlimactic thing. And then and then Kylo and Rey team up. And this is the part I don't get. When I was a kid, I saw The Wizard of Oz, and when she throws the bucket of water on the witches, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it. Oh, what a world, I'm melting. She sort of dies, and I was like, oh my god, all of those scary guards are going to kill them. I was like, oh, this is scary. I was terrified, I think, as a kid. And then they bowed to her and said, thank you for killing. I was like, oh. And then I guess as I grew up, I was like, oh, okay, I guess guards are kind of loyal to the person, and, Anyway, so this movie, why did the Red Guards attack them, and why did they fight the Red Guards? It doesn't make any sense. What should have happened as soon as Snoke died, all the Red Guards should be like, what, not expected that at all. It should be like, oh my god, and we got two Jedi, Sith, whatever Kylo Ren is, that are pretty powerful, and I would have been being the first one to say, Lord Ren, or Master Ren and Rey, what can we do for you? Well, did they like Snoke? Thank you. And I don't know who the Knights of Ren are. I've heard of them. I just don't really care. So I don't know who these guards are. But the idea that they have this big battle makes no sense. Why would you, if you're a guard, why would you attack these people? They're two Jedi, and then this big epic battle that people are saying is great. It was okay. It was stupid. Some of the weapons, who uses a sword against a lightsaber? Does the sword have a special? One of them had two blade things, and another had a kind of a whip or a thing, but it would go rigid sometimes. I don't. And why are they wearing red? And who are they? What powers do they have? And why? It's confusing, because if you look at Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. They just go in, Obi-Wan and Anakin just... You get the sense they know exactly what they're doing. They effortlessly beat all these droids, and they can beat trained warriors because they're just way, way ahead. They're Jedi. Jedi are super intimidating. And now you got these two Jedi fighting a bunch of guards, and it's so challenging for them. It's so inconsistent. Why don't they just... That's the other thing, with Rogue One, Vader going through that thing and killing all those people. Why do these Force things only get used sometimes? It doesn't make any sense. And again, if you're one of the Red Guards, okay, your choice is either try to fight them and die, or just say, hey, what can we do for you? Okay, the whole plot with the two spaceships going like this is hilarious. It's stupid that they can't, I don't know, just with the fuel. It's unbelievable that Holdo, or whatever her name is, Laura Dern with purple hair, which is, that kind of clicked for me. I was like, are they trying to do this diversity thing or something? I don't want to read too much into it, but I get sick of, there was another part of the plot where it had the casino, the whole stuff with Finn and Rose was just a complete waste of time, literally, in the context of the movie. I think they managed to kill people, which is good. And they managed to cause lots of damage, but it's okay, because the people at that casino, they're all rich, right? I love how there's just places where there are only rich people. No other people who are moderately rich, or no one who's actually worked hard and earned what they have. It's just they're rich by virtue of, they're already rich. I also liked how there were comments about they become rich from arms dealing. Is Bill Gates an arms dealer in America? Why would making weapons be the most profitable thing? Has that ever been the most profitable business? Like in the future in space, like consider all the technology that there is, flying vehicles, computer stuff, God knows what there is. But my point is, you would be making money from all of those other things. It's insane to just think, oh, the only way to make, or the most profitable things are making weapons. The Benicio del Toro character was, again, like a bit of a waste. There's so much stuff I could talk about. I don't want to go into all of it. He's a cool actor, but his performance just seemed kind of weird. It didn't seem to go anywhere. Let me just mention Rose briefly. Like, that's another. I don't want to. This just. How do I say this? Now, maybe she's just meant to be a little. I guess she died at the end, but like, what's the word? Comic relief. But it felt like she meant to also be like a love interest for Finn, or is Finn have a thing for Rey? I don't know. But yeah, feels like they're trying to get all these diverse things, like, okay, black guy, a lady, Rey, a girl Jedi, so a lady with purple hair, an Asian who's like, that. I was going to say, like, she's not like stereotypically good looking, like, beautiful woman. She's like a little shorter and chubbier or whatever. Just, yeah, I don't know. Like, they're just going for this variety, and like, no, we just want cool characters. We want interesting things that are awesome. And I don't think there's a problem with having people who are attractive as well. That can make movies more entertaining. I'm not saying she's ugly. I'm just trying to get across. I don't know. I felt like they're just trying to see, look, it could just be anyone, someone more plain. But like, and she was kind of funny. I liked some of the things with the Rose of Finn made me laugh, but like mildly, and not worth the time that was invested. So yeah, it was stupid that this purple haired lady did not tell them the plan, which was kind of epic. At like to like go light speed through the thing, which just seems like really poor etiquette. Like you don't do that. The whole, even if you're at war, you don't. Anyway, it's a bit like kamikaze attack. Well, why did no one think of this before? Why did this never happen? Like, and why not? Why does someone have to be on the ship like every movie ever? As some people said, it might have been better if Admiral Akbar got to sacrifice himself there. I barely noticed he was in the movie. I just didn't care. He's an awesome character in episode 6. We don't need to bring him back. Make a new movie. That's the thing. Oh, the Millennium Falcon. That doesn't mean I'm going to like the movie. And you're potentially going to ruin what I think of the Millennium Falcon, because now people are going to be like, oh yeah, the Force Awakens was great. And like, no, that's not what it... So yeah, if you can light speed through a ship and blow it up, like, why not do that all the time? Why not just have a little ship and get everyone off it and just program it to aim at that ship, which is currently at those coordinates, and just get out and light speed and just have this epic shot. Like, that changes everything. It's also funny that this other ship dropped bombs. I think people have said, oh, you can't drop things in space. I don't know if they were near a planet, because that could change things. But yeah, okay. But I mean, how is everyone standing on the ships? The original trilogy has lots of flaws like that. So it's not really the best criticism. I didn't really notice that much. And I understand space. I don't care. If things fall, fine. Who cares? But to me, what's funny is that they have to drop whatever these weird bombs are. Like, they have all this technology and they do not have a nuclear bomb. That would just change everything. You just drop one nuclear bomb and... That's why something like, The Dark Knight Rises is so much more set in reality, and yet is sort of larger than life, with eccentric villains like Bane, and then Catwoman's kind of in between. Batman, it's in many ways it's ridiculous, and it's crazy plane stunts near the start, but like, as much as possible, it's realistic, and it's got a nuclear bomb, which is a really serious, deadly thing that's, a real scary thing in the real world that could happen. So anyway, let's talk about Luke a bit. I think Mark Hamill's a very cool actor. This was one area I thought The Last Jedi improved on from The Force Awakens, was the acting. I liked Carrie Fisher. I thought her acting was good. But yeah, some of his choices, yeah, okay, the character didn't go the way I might expect, but it was interesting. Like, when he just casually throws the lightsaber, that's like, that was your big build-up, like, of all the things you could do. It's so stupid. You could have made it so cool. And him milking like an alien was just kind of weird, showing his day-to-day activities. I did like the part where Rey cut through the rock and it fell down and just knocked... These two little aliens are walking and something gets knocked out of there. I don't know, was it a pram? Because what if it had a little baby? Like, that's what I'm thinking is, that's kind of funny, but at the same time I think, what if the rock just killed them? killed those two aliens? Like, would that still be funny? We're at the whim of the director, so it's things are dangerous when they're meant to be and not dangerous otherwise. But it's okay, as long as the tone's consistent. That part was a little funny, but they had a really good chance to give us some good insights into what happened after Return of the Jedi. What happened with Ben Solo in particular, Kylo Ren. How and when did he become an emo? And we only get a little bit of details of that. My brother made some suggestions that I think would have been better to just expand on it a bit. So I did kind of like how they had you'd learn that, Kylo Ren tried to bring down the rocks, but then, it turned out actually Luke had activated his lightsaber, and it turned out, he'd activated it and then had second thoughts, but Kylo saw it anyway. It gets a bit more interesting, and there's a grey area, but it didn't go all the way. It ultimately it ends up being kind of stupid. Like, for you had a whole movie and that was all you came up with. Like, the whole movie has all this ambiguity of, like, has Luke turned to the dark side, or is he still good? It actually reminds me, if you had a time machine, what would you do? I feel like there'd be lots of answers, but one of the most common answers would be go back and kill Hitler. Go back to when he was on the toilet because he's vulnerable. But that seems a bit more messy. I would go back, maybe even to when he's a kid or to his parents and prevent him from being born. But that's the thing. Like, let's say you went back to when he was a kid. Would you be morally justified in killing him as a kid? Would it be better if you killed him when he was like 20? Or kill him in 1933 just as he becomes Chancellor? Had he done enough evil things by then? I'm not even sure. But the point is, I feel like many people would think of that. Like, that's what you should do with a time machine. Would be an ideal thing to do. But it's a bit like Minority Report, this idea of someone's going to do something bad. Can you kill them now before they've done it? And then that knowing part is important. Did you know? Even the Matrix has this thing with the Oracle, my brother mentioned to me, where she says, don't worry about that. And he's like, what? Don't worry. And he knocks over a vase. And it's like, she mentions, maybe did what I say cause you to knock over the vase? It's ambiguous. And it's like, did Luke Skywalker activating his saber and then Kylo Ren seeing that, did that push Kylo Ren to the dark side or help? Was that the last straw? Because then it's like he's partially responsible. I get the guilt with he feels like he failed, but it was kind of cool that Yoda was in it. I was excited at first, but then it wasn't terrible. It didn't look real though. I could immediately see the CGI. I thought it was CGI, but I could tell it wasn't like the prequels that I thought wasn't as good, but it looked a lot more like the puppet from like episode 5 and 6. And I thought, interesting, but it didn't look real. But I'm confused because I tried to look it up. I know Frank Oz did the voice, but he might have done it with a real puppet. But then they did some effects on it to make it look blue. But whatever they did, it did not look real at all. And that was disappointing, a bit off-putting. Some of the dialogue was a bit interesting, but still disappointing compared to what it could have been with Yoda and Luke. I thought it was cool that Luke turned up. There was kind of a bit of excitement there. And then the ATs, whatever they are, shooting at him, and then he steps out and then has a bit of a battle. The battle could have been a lot cooler. Apparently, as he was moving, he wasn't leaving marks on the sand. I actually missed a little bit of it. Apparently there was a guy who said, this isn't ice, this is sand. I missed that part. I had to go to the toilet, I was busty. So I missed the start of that action sequence where they're flying it. Some of that looked cool. I didn't get why a lot of them were dragging through the sand. That doesn't make sense. Like, I thought they were flying just above, or were they rolling on wheels? Why would you want to touch the sand? You're dragging all the way. But yeah, and then, Kylo Ren stabs him, and I thought, he's going to disappear like Obi-Wan, but okay. Then it turns out he's fine, and I'm like, what? And then he disappears, and it turns out it's all... I thought that was pretty cool, that he was able to project. I get that it's not as impressive. I get it, as if he was actually there. But what really disappointed me was that he then suddenly disappeared. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like, you've just done this amazing power. Why would you just then die? Is that it? He's just finished? I guess part of the end seemed to hint, like there's this kid, he kind of uses the Force a little bit to get this broom, that there's going to be an uprising in the future with all these, like, the point being anyone could be connected to the Force, whether it's these kids or Rey, whose parents are nobody, even though they would mean something to her, but I guess they're not connected to any bloodline. But what is that saying? Again, it feels like it's trying to fit into this equality sort of thing, that it's not about what family, it could be anyone, and there's rich people, and they're just evil, and it's good that we, even if we just destroy stuff like and free these animals, because that's all evil. It's funny when it comes to owning animals, because you find there's an economist, Walter E. Williams, that he said, there's no Save the Chicken Foundation, because chickens, chickens get slaughtered, but they get looked after otherwise. Like, they get fed and they reproduce. When people own animals, it's in their interest to keep them in relatively good shape. But it seems to be this cliche that they're all mistreated. And of course, some of them probably are. But compare that to living in the wild. I don't know which one's worse. I don't know. But my point is just that it was like a cliche in the movie that these animals are being mistreated. It's bad. But it didn't have... The movie, I thought, was too long. It had too many subplots, too many things going on that didn't really get in depth of. And yet, none of it, like Snoke was a complete disappointment. Luke, it was okay what happened. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't nearly as cool as it could have been. Kylo Ren was annoying because he kind of went through this kind of early tough guy cool phase. He kind of killed Snoke, and then but then immediately him and Rey are just like, he's like, join me to the dark, Like, they could have teamed up for a bit. He could have betrayed her later on, or he could have tried to really seduce her, and more of, like, could have really made some points. He could have said, talked about Luke. It felt like she just kind of picked sides and said, no, Luke is good. Like, he, without knowing the full details. And I feel like the movie really could have dug deeper into some real ambiguity between good and evil, but it never really does that. It's kind of just, oh, Kylo is good and bad. He does all these bad things. And that's the thing. If you kill a bunch of people, and even like Finn's whole background undercuts so much of it, because anytime you're killing like a stormtrooper, like that could have been Finn. And he's the good guy. He's taken off his mask now. The fight between Finn and Phasma was like, it was okay, but like, I don't really care who Phasma is. Brienne of Tarth is cool, the actress in Game of Thrones, but like, you can't see her face. You can't even really tell that she's tall. Being tall when you're in a complete costume, it doesn't really give you any context and meaning. And the costume doesn't even look that cool. It's kind of silver. Silver's doesn't... I don't know. Also, just to briefly mention Hux, he's another character that I just feel like could take you to fight. Even in a debate, like, I feel like this guy's an idiot. He's just angry. And it was mildly amusing when it looked like Kylo Ren was lying on the ground. Oh yeah, because and then he kind of goes to pull out his blaster and then changes his mind. So the opening part with the ship was okay, but some of the visuals were very cool. The thing is that giant ship memorable? Is Snoke's ship memorable? I think the Star Destroyers in the original... I mean, that's the thing. Even the AT-AT things are just an imitation. What about that cannon? That giant circular cylindrical cannon? Like, it's so lame. Why have things that just imitate, the original series and try to be bigger? Like, that's the main thing, is it's bigger. It's a bigger ship. And, this time it's fully CGI rather than a miniature, which actually often looks a lot better. I find that's the thing. I think a lot of these movies that do special effects the right way are going to last for 50 years, for 100 years, while these things, like these later Star Wars movies, are going to date really badly really quickly, because CGI does that. Look at the special editions of the Star Wars movies from 97. Like, those ones are awful. The CGI is absolutely horrendous and looks way worse than the original movies. So just to summarize, I think this movie is like wasted potential. I didn't really care though. It was okay. It was better than The Force Awakens. It was entertaining, mildly entertaining in different ways, full of plot holes. Like, okay, why didn't when this one ran out of fuel, like, why not turn it and light speed? It's so stupid. Like, if you're gonna use that. Why? And why did Holdo, or whatever her name is, have to be on the ship? Why can't she program it and then go off with the others? It makes no sense to me. I think when Luke's doing his tricky thing, like, he could have just told them, this is a distraction, okay? I will distract them as long as I can. Why didn't he tell them, like, as soon as I'm out there, run away? Instead, Poe Dameron has to be, like, thinking, like, there must be some reason he'd go out there. He wants us to run away. He's creating a distraction. Like, why don't the characters ever communicate in these movies? So yeah, I don't think I'll say much more. It's just the whole thing overall is a disappointment. Disappointment. It's pathetic compared to the other movies, and I think the prequels are underrated. I don't get the hatred for them. You like whichever movies you want. That's fine. I like the movies I like, but I'd much prefer to see a really good new original movie than another Star Wars movie that's just Star Wars only in terms of it has all the features, the things we supposedly liked. That's not what I liked. I liked the great films. I like great music. I like original things. I like good directing. And these movies don't have much of that. So, anyway, I'll leave it there. I don't really care much anymore. Okay, bye.